Welcome back to the Drive Home Reviews podcast, where I review the movies that I have just seen as I am driving home from the theater. And long live Mortal Kombat! Mortal Kombat! Oh my God. I cannot express how grateful I am for this movie. Let's be honest here, folks. So far, 2026 has not been a great year for movies. It just hasn't. You know, I was worried about this early on in the year, but we're far enough along. I'm starting to see the trend. And, there have been good movies, but they've been few and far between. Fun times watching movies has been few and far between, and I've just seen a lot of mediocre to downright terrible garbage that to come out of a film feeling as excited and as jazzed up as I was after I saw this film. The closest thing I can remember experiencing is I remember when my best friend and I went and saw the original Iron Man way back, and we came out of that theater just jazzed. You know, the movie was great, the end tease was insane as our minds were swimming with what does this mean? Holy shit, are they gonna do this? And we were saying things like, okay, I want to watch it again. I want it out on DVD right now so I can watch it again. I can't wait for the next one. And that's the same way my buddy and I, who went and saw this movie, that's exactly what we did coming out of it. Going, oh my God, I can't wait for the next one. I want to watch this one again. It felt so good. And to have it be a Mortal Kombat movie is especially rewarding because, Mortal Kombat is one of those properties. It's one of those things that, especially for 90s kids like me, I grew up with this. Mortal Kombat 2, 3, loved those games. They are part of my childhood, part of my adolescence. I loved them so much. And this one may have more attempts to adapt it than a lot of other franchises have had. It's had a couple of attempts at movies. It's had a lot of, direct-to-DVD anime-style films. It's had a couple TV series, live action and animated. So it's run the gauntlet. And for the most part, a lot of them have really missed the mark. Because like most things that appear simplistic, that's the sign that you've done something really good, is when it seems simple. The formula seems like it should be easy to replicate. But the secret sauce of something really great is that, yeah, it seems simple, but it's a product of its time, and there are a lot of factors that go into it. And with Mortal Kombat, there's this bizarre tonal blending that really could only have come about in the 90s with that Gen X attitude. So, I think when most people think Mortal Kombat, of course, the first thing they think of is the violence. And yes, that is a part of it. But there is also this underlying, feeling of self-awareness and almost to the point of self-parody that has been baked into the franchise's DNA from the conception. This was a thing that came about because the guys creating it loved old Bruce Lee movies and old martial arts movies, and those are fucking silly a lot of the time. A lot of great action, but they're fucking ridiculous. And so it has that blend. This is the series that gave us Friendships and the little voice popping up going, Toasty! when you did a certain combination. So it's always had this bizarre mix of, grim and gritty, but also taking the piss at the same time in a way that really only something from the 90s can. I bring this up because, let's just focus on some of the film adaptations. So the first film adaptation, which came out in the 90s, when Mortal Kombat was at the height, I think it came out just as Mortal Kombat 2 was about to hit. And I love that movie. I think it's fun. It has that goofy, otherworldly kind of thing. And I love it. A lot of people can kind of poo-poo at it that, yes, it's not as violent, it's not as gory as the game. And yeah, it was PG-13, which does seem weird. But I think it was of the moment. But yeah, it does feel like there's pieces of it missing. I acknowledge that. The less spoken about Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the better. It's unwatchable. I tried rewatching it again recently to kind of go, is this really that? Yeah, it's really that fucking bad. And they did a couple of like direct to DVD or direct to streaming kind of anime and stuff, and these ones are just, they're all about the violence. It's all about the gore. And yes, the gore is part of Mortal Kombat, but it's never been the whole thing. The gore has to be over the top. It's got to be silly gory. Especially as the series went on, it got really ridiculous. So then came this most recent reboot, back in it came out in 2020, and that's, I think, part of its problem is it hit in that bizarre era when things were going straight to streaming because all the theaters were closed, and like you could see they were trying to do a more quote-unquote serious take on it, the boy becomes a man narrative and all of this, and embrace your hero's destiny, and they were trying to get all the gore in there. But it still had this sense of taking itself too seriously, and there's a lot that movie did wrong, and we're going to revisit some of that as we talk about this one. The best thing it did was the Scorpion Sub-Zero fight. That was pretty good. I did enjoy all of that. But yeah, it didn't hit with me, and I think a lot of fans kind of had this kind of, okay, there were good things about it, but for the most part, it wasn't, I think most people kind of had that same reaction. So here comes this one. And I will be damned if this isn't the best Mortal Kombat movie ever. And I would dare say I think this may be the best video game adaptation ever. Because it finally got it. It finally hit the balance. And I think the secret to it all, there are two secrets. Number one, they went back to basics. So the first one of these was all about the pre-tournament, which, got the whole mythology jumbled. I mean, this mythology in this video game gets really fucking convoluted the further in you go. But it starts out, it was a fighting game. It was a one-on-one fighting game. So the plot was incredibly simple. There's a tournament. There are these guys. There are these guys. Here are the stakes. Go. That's all you needed. And the first one was getting way too much into the complex mythology and who's a champion and you're being chosen and yada, yada, yada. The Cole storyline, which again we'll talk about. And this one says, okay, to basics. It's a tournament. Let's focus on the tournament. We don't have to contrive reasons for these people to be fighting. They're fighting because it's a fucking tournament. Okay, great. And then here's the master stroke. And this should come as no surprise to anyone. But the key thing that they did that made this movie fucking great, Karl Urban as fucking Johnny Cage. Or Johnny fucking Cage, as he prefers to be called. Mwah! Finger kiss. No notes. And what's really funny about this is I almost get the feeling like the creators of this latest series of films kind of got the feeling that they'd fucked up the first one. They listened to the notes, because this one is essentially doing the same story over again, only with Johnny Cage instead of Cole, which is the way it should have been. That was one of the big complaints I had about the first one, and a lot of people had about the first one, is that of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of characters that Mortal Kombat has had over the years, why bring in this fucker? Why bring in Cole? And I want to be clear, I'm not blaming the actor. I think Louis Tan did a good job with what he was given. He tried his best. They were trying to create a new audience, point of view character. I get it. But they made him, what we would call in wrestling terms, such a white meat baby face, that he was just such an archetype of modern day films, that struggling guy who hasn't found his potential, and he's got a family that he loves, and he's gonna do it for that, just such a fucking, bland as hell story and character. It's like, why could it not have been Nightwolf, say? And yes, I know that they're like, well, he's got the blood of Scorpion in him. Like, wasn't Scorpion supposed to be alive hundreds of years ago? You're telling me that bloodline might not have merged with some others at some point? Just saying. And I think that was one of the big problems that people had, is that this was not a character anybody who going to see Mortal Kombat would give a shit about. So why couldn't they make it one of the characters we loved? And that's what this one does. It essentially does the same story. A guy pulled into this mythical tournament. He has to discover his own self-worth. Yada, yada, yada. But it does it with Johnny Cage, a character that A, we know, B, has personality, and C, played by one of the greatest character actors of this generation. Karl Urban oozes charisma and screen presence, and he can channel it in so many different ways. One of the other things they did that was really brilliant, and I really liked this, and I think this might be the key. When they first announced Karl Urban, I was a little like, he looks a little old to be playing Johnny Cage, doesn't he? I like Karl Urban as an actor, so I wasn't like upset about it, but I was kind of like going, that's interesting. But I get it, because the story arc here is that unlike the way Johnny Cage is in the early games, portrayed as this egotistical actor who, wants to prove that he's legit, and he's got this, real, high opinion of himself, kind of like the character they played in the original movie, but he was much smarmier and douchier, that kind of 90s asshole that for some reason we thought was aspirational at the time. Instead of playing him that way, this version of Johnny Cage is an older. He was a big action star in the 90s when, these games were popular. And he's at the tail end of his career. He's a has-been. He feels washed up. He feels like he's wasted all of his potential. And so now, through this movie, he has to discover it. So he takes the best elements of Johnny Cage, that smarmy, egotistical kind of character, but also weighs him with enough humility and humanity that the audience cares about him and likes him and wants him to be the main character. And it fucking worked. Also, I need to put this out there. So when we meet Johnny Cage, he's at a convention and they're showing a clip from one of his movies, like Uncaged or Citizen Cage. I can't remember. It was something very clever. And I'm watching this, movie within a movie, and like so many movies within a movie, I'm like, I want to see that. So if you're listening, New Line Cinema or whoever is putting these out, please do a full version of one of these Johnny Cage movies. Like, do it seriously. Like, make it a love letter to 90s cheese and over melodrama and the karate movies of Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal. Please do, because like the 5 minutes they showed of the clip was fucking 90s awesome. And I want to see more of that movie. Can we, so yes, please do that as a side film. And I promise you, I will be lined up on day one.
Shut up and take my money.
So this is everything they did right. And from there, the film runs smoothly. It's great that we have a lot of our characters back from the mostly forgettable first one. Again, the best thing about the first one was the Scorpion Sub-Zero stuff. That was the best thing about it. Everything else was, but again, forgettable. I rewatched it. I tried to rewatch it before going to see this one. I couldn't make it through. I was just like, oh my God, I'm so bored. This is so bad. But what's also interesting is I think like the producer and everything kind of realized, ooh, we kind of fucked up, because here's an interesting touch that I noticed. At the beginning of the movie, they do the cold open, and then they show the title. It's not called Mortal Kombat 2 at the beginning. It's just called Mortal Kombat. And then they call it Mortal Kombat 2 at the end. Because yes, it's bringing all the actors back from the original, and it's continuing the storylines, but it's almost like, sorry, mulligan, do-over, this is the actual Mortal Kombat movie. And yeah, if they had just put this one out and maybe stuck the Scorpion and Sub-Zero stuff in with it, it would have been awesome. But yeah, I don't know quite what to say about this movie, in that, like I say, they simplified it down. They got the formula right. All the fight scenes are fucking amazing. I love that they really had a lot of fun with all of the characters, different fighting styles, and the different locations where those fights could be staged at. God bless the stunt people and the actual martial artists. I know a lot of these people are actually very highly decorated martial artists in their own right. But the fight choreography is fucking amazing. And yeah, the gore is in there and all that, but it feels like this time it's a little bit more on that goofy side and a little bit more of that, okay, great, okay. All the actors look like they are having a fantastic time. I wish I was having as much fun doing anything as it seems Josh Lawson is having playing Kano. Like, because he just looks like he is having a blast. I would be surprised if it turned out half of his lines were in the script and not just him going off and ad-libbing them, going, that was funny, leave that in. Because he is just, it's almost one of those Loki situations that he had kind of the most charisma and personality of all the characters in the first ones. They're like, well, we better bring him back and we better give him kind of a face turn because, people really liked him and he's really enjoyable and we want to enjoy him, So yeah, I will say that Kano does behave, excuse me, a little bit out of character from what I would associate with him. I still think the guy who played him in the first one was fantastic. That's when I think of Kano, that's who I think of. But this guy, Josh Lawson, is really great in the role, and you forgive the out of character thing because it's like it's fucking hysterical. And him and Carl Urban working off each other are really great. And they're having a great time, and the actors all feel like they have a little bit more chemistry. this time, and they're all having a little bit more fun with it. Again, I feel like the filmmakers dialed back the Batman Begins level of, we must take this seriously. This has to be serious. Which again, the first one was not like the Batman, the Robert Pattinson one, but it was still trying, I think, to take it a little too seriously. And this one is more like, no, it's okay. It's a fucking Mortal Kombat movie. It's okay to have fun and to joke and to laugh at all of this. It's good. We should do that. The young lady playing Sonya Blade, I should have looked her name up, and I'm sorry that I didn't. I really enjoy her as Sonya, and I hope that I hope this one is going to do well enough that there's going to be future ones. I'd love to see her get a little bit more screen time. She had a lot in the first one, but it was with such a fucking insulting story of her just being the girl wanting to get into the guy's clubhouse, and how come that she had to prove that she was chosen, that bullshit. That was awful, and it really brought the character down. And here she's much more in her high, I'm Sonya Blade and I'm gonna kick your fucking ass kind of persona. Though I still wonder, this isn't really a critique thing I've noticed. Why won't they give her a green tank top? Like, Sonya's color in the game was green. That was her signature color. And like in the original Mortal Kombat movie and in this one, she's in black. It's like, why? Put her in fucking green. I don't get that. That's always bugged me. The Black Ranger who plays Liu Kang, again, I don't remember his name. I just know he was the Black Ranger in the Power Rangers movie from 2017. He's great. Really like him as Liu Kang, and his clear abilities as a martial artist are on display. Here's an odd thing. I guess if I had a critique for this movie, or not even a critique, but maybe just something they could do as they go into the third one, is I do find it interesting that Liu Kang, the hero, the main character of the game series, always has been. He has always been the focal point. That he has kind of been regulated to also hero status. You almost feel like there's another movie that's going on from his point of view that we haven't been privy to. Because it seems like he's got an arc and a character and all of this, but it's like it doesn't really come to the forefront. He's taken a back seat to Cole and now to Johnny Cage, which is kind of funny. And I think maybe what they should try to do going into the next is maybe try to make it a little bit more of an ensemble than just having one person in the forefront. But now here's where I kind of go back on that. In a way, I don't mind it, and here's why. You ever notice how some franchises tend to fixate on one character, and that seems to be the driving force of most of their output? Like with the Ninja Turtle movies, Raphael is usually at the forefront in most of the films. Not all of them, but most of them. You want a better example? What about Wolverine? In the X-Men movies, Wolverine is our main character. And, the other characters are like his sidekicks. And that was true in the 90s in the comics as well. Like, Wolverine was everywhere, and it was all about him, and the other characters were also there. Or what about how everything since the 90s reboot of The Addams Family and Christina Ricci's star-making performance, every incarnation of the Addams Family since, the other movies, the Netflix show, the Broadway musical, they've all been focused on Wednesday. Or another good one, God rest you, Jason David Frank. I hope you found your peace. I really do. But for Power Rangers fans, you ever notice that in those first couple seasons, in those first couple iterations, it was all about Tommy? You know, that Tommy was the main character, especially when we got into Zeo and Turbo and he became the Red Ranger. And then it was like, you know, Rocky and Adam were just kind of there. And I even heard Johnny Young Bosch say it at a couple Comic-Con stuff where he says, yeah, I always kind of felt like my role was just stand in the back and go, right, let's go. Morphin' time. And that was it. So my point being is that sometimes it's better to set that main character aside and focus some of these side characters and make them the focal point, because it keeps the property fresh and you don't have like the same thing of Wednesday Addams, Wolverine, Raphael, and Tommy Oliver being your main characters, and the rest are the Professor and Marianne.
A movie star and the rest.
What's this and the rest crap?
So it's good that it kind of has that, it puts those new characters forward. I will say, poor Cole. Poor Louis Tan. I guess this counts as a spoiler, so I'll put it up.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Maybe say spoiler before you give away the end of a movie, okay?
Again, I feel like, again, the filmmakers kind of knew what they were trying to do and trying to right the ship, almost doing a soft reboot of the reboot and trying to correct some of the issues that they had. And yeah, one of them was Cole. And when I saw he was still there, I was like, oh God. And then he instantly, well, not instantly, but almost right when the tournament starts, he is immediately owned by Shao Kahn. Guy playing Shao Kahn, by the way, what a fucking beast. I saw him in that Red Sonja movie. He played like the ape general. Fucking guy is massive. He's a goddamn mountain. Holy shit, great casting. But yeah, poor Cole. And again, I do feel bad for Louis Tan because I think he did the best he could. I really think he could, but he was in a no-win situation, and I think the filmmakers, when they got together for this, were like, okay, we're going to keep him in there because he was the main character of the last one, and, you know, but it's Mortal Kombat. People have got to die, so sorry, buddy, you're the red shirt.
All right, men, this is a dangerous mission, and it's likely one of us will be killed. The landing party will consist of myself, Mr. Spock, Dr. McCoy, and Ensign Ricky.
Ah, crap.
That's so crazy that they're like, here's the guy who was the main character in the first one, had the story arc, the whole movie was about him, got to get him ready for this tournament, and his first match in it, and he's fucking dead. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't like the character, and I wasn't sorry to see him go, but I did feel bad for the actor because, yeah, I think he did what he could, but but God, did he get it? I guess that might be another criticism. I won't give away names, but this film does kind of stick to the cliches of who in a group of people is going to die. You know, you're watching, you're like, oh, I know who's gonna die. Oh, dear Lord. Oh, and then it did. Yeah.
All right, then we just need a black person who can sacrifice himself in case something goes wrong. Let's see, anyone will do. Anyone who meets the qualifications. Oh, I know. How about...
Yeah, I get it. Fine.
But these are quibbles. These are minor quibbles to me, at least. On the whole, I thought this movie, it was everything you want a Mortal Kombat movie to be. It's everything you wanted one of the first summer movies to be. It was energetic. It was fun. It was tongue-in-cheek. It was action-packed. It like I said, I got jazzed up. My work buddy who came and saw this with me, you know, who comes and sees a lot of these movies with me. I've subjected him to some horrible films. But he said it felt like you were sitting there playing a Mortal Kombat game. And it did. It really did, in the best possible way. I can't think of a better compliment to give one of these movies. And yeah, it's a definite popcorn movie. I say that because I went through all. You're sitting there, you're like, you know, because you're just like, yeah, go baby, yeah. It's a popcorn movie, guys. It's a fun, exhilarating popcorn movie. And I'm not trying to oversell it. This movie is not going to change your life. This is not, this is not the greatest thing since sliced bread. But in a year of really downer and disappointing and sad movies, along with really sad reality, it's good to get a little bit of that 90s kick-ass attitude back and to kind of feel that invigoration that I felt the very first time I played this game. This is all other video game movies. Sit up and take notice. Yes, I know the Super Mario Galaxy movie has made a shit ton of money. That doesn't make it good. The Orange Hobgoblin has a lot of money. That doesn't make him good. All right? So, but all other video game movies need to turn their attention to this, because this is now the gold standard. This did it right. And fucking A, what a great time. So, go. I highly recommend. Go. Take your buddies to see this. Have a great time. And yeah, it's just a really great film, and I'm looking forward now to seeing what they do going forward. I can't say I was with the first one. This one, I'm like, yes, when is the third one? I need it now. I love how the actress, I saw an interview with the actress who played Sonya Blade, and they asked her about, that of course in the lore, Johnny Cage and Sonya kind of have a thing. And they asked her, and she said, well, I've heard about that, and I liked that in this movie they gave her her own story other than I've got to get the man again, so better than what they did with her in the first one. But she was like, yeah, I wouldn't mind exploring that just because I want to make out with Carl Urban. So it's like, okay, fair, sister. Everybody in this looked like they were having a great time. The direction is great, the fight scenes are great, the characters are great. It's just a good fucking time. So go see it. All right. I think I'm just talking in circles. Let's wrap this up. So final grade for Mortal Kombat 2. It's an A. It is an A. No, fuck that. It's an A+. This is an A+ movie. This was an A+ summer movie. Not perfect. Not the greatest thing ever. But god damn was it a ride. And was it a fucking great one. Yeah. I'm over the moon with this. So thank you, and long live Mortal Kombat. All right, so that is it for me this week. Thanks a lot for coming along. Thanks for listening. And as always, drive safe, and I will see you at the movies.